I thought it was just a random NPC. That's what my player said when we were chatting after we were done with the adventure. Random NPC? There's no such thing, or at least there should not be. But that got me thinking why my players would consider that I would include an NPC if not to help to move the story forward, or why a Dungeon Master would ever do that. I started playing D&D in its second edition when I was a teenager. When I graduated and moved to another city, my D&D buddies were gone and that came to a halt. It was only years later that I would start playing again, but then I was playing as an adult, and with maturity comes a whole other approach to writing D&D adventures. I was initially too concerned with making social encounters feel real. In real life, some of our conversations prove useful, and some of them are just small talk or pointless information. I wanted my players to put some effort to find the right person and the right clue in my encounters. But that would be real life and not D&D. It was actually naive of me to try to bring that to my D&D adventures. It only made them boring. That's the advantage of movies, right? We can edit out the boring parts out of it. On the other hand, it wouldn't feel real or make sense to me that every interaction would bring relevant information for the player's current quest. How could I solve that? Well, a social encounter role is to convey a given information. If there's no information to share, there's no reason for an NPC to be there. It's not a problem that an NPC has a very small connection to the adventure, as long as it's clear for the players what connection that is. So I consider different possible social encounter connections when I'm building an interaction with an NPC. Any encounter of mine may have one or more of those 4 possible connections. First, to the adventure. Most often, the information shared by an NPC is connected to the quest the players are currently pursuing. 2. Campaign plots. Of course, there is overarching knowledge about the campaign that spans across several adventures. A social encounter may be connected to those overarching themes rather than the immediate adventure. 3. Campaign world. Social encounters are an effective way of sharing lore about the campaign world. I find doing it this way much more interesting than sharing this knowledge through fact sheets or metagame information dumps. 4. Characters' story arcs. Characters' backstories should be a starting point and not an end on itself. I love to connect social encounters with characters' backstories, helping to support the development of a character's story arc. In fact, that's so important to me that we'll release an entire video on that subject in the near future. But those 4 elements are the framework I keep in mind when I'm building a social encounter. I want to have clear in my mind what's its connection to the adventure, the campaign, the world, and the player characters. When I tie those elements to a social encounter, it immediately comes alive. It brings to the player the excitement that both the world and the story are larger than they might have initially seemed, and that they're making part of a great saga. It provides player immersion and makes them more naturally inclined to take action and uncover whichever new parts of the story are ahead of them. It's my secret weapon to get rid of player distraction in my D&D tables.